Like and subscribe now, or you're gonna have bad luck this week.
Zoos are great, and everyone loves to get a glimpse of some rare animals, but from time to time, things just don't go as planned. Join us as we have a look at some of the most shocking moments to happen at the zoo. Number 1 will definitely give you chills, so watch out for that. Number 10. Tatiana the tiger. Tigers are one of the most powerful animals on land. They are some of the fastest of the big cats in their species and can weigh up to a shocking 600 pounds. Some tigers in the wild have been known to kill hundreds of herbivores in their lifetimes, for the sake of themselves or for that of their families. Tigers are in fact killing machines of nature, and they can run incredibly fast in comparison to humans, and have some incredible jaw strength. With that being said, you can well imagine how frightening it would be if such an animal escaped its enclosure, right? Well, that's exactly what occurred at the Denver Zoo when a certain tiger named Tatiana escaped. Tatiana is a Siberian tiger born in the Denver Zoo in 2003 and was later transferred to the San Francisco Zoo. In 2007, on Christmas Day, the tiger somehow escaped the enclosure, which was surrounded by a 15-foot moat and a 20-foot high wall. Tatiana then went to attack and kill a 17-year-old boy, as well as injuring 2 more individuals in her spree of freedom. When the police arrived, the tiger then turned her attention on them. But then the officers shot the 350-pound jungle cat down, killing her right where she stood. Zoo officials are still dumbfounded as to how the tiger escaped her captivity, and years before the escape, Tatiana had also publicly attacked her trainer during a feeding session. Number 9. Home zoo gone wrong. Zoos are entertaining, but they are hard to upkeep, and it requires a large staff to clean, feed, and care for all of the animals at a zoo. It is also important that these creatures do not escape and wreak havoc anywhere except their cages. So who in the world would want to have a zoo in their house? But seems like it's not as cool as it is shown in the movies, and we can see why in this story of a Vietnam War veteran named Terry Thompson, who had his own zoo called the Muskingum County Animal Farm in Ohio. Terry's zoo was full of exotic animals, and he had been in trouble with the authorities for years, providing inadequate and unsafe housing for them. In 2011, the zoo owner decided that he had had enough, and that's when he freed every single one of his 55 animals and then shot himself in the head. The town of Zanesville, Ohio was overrun with wild and exotic animals, which included 18 Bengal tigers, 17 lions, 6 black bears, 3 mountain lions, a monkey, some grizzly bears, and some baboons. A lion also managed to eat one of the baboons among all of the chaos. Officials from the town were understandably overwhelmed, and to prevent all the animals from infiltrating the town completely, a mass slaughter had to occur, and every single one of the animals was shot dead. Number 8. Climbing into the lion's den. Drugs are never a good idea, and when you are on drugs, especially meth, you may do some things that you would have otherwise not done. Like jumping into a lion's den. That sounds crazy, right? No one would do that, as that's a one-way ticket to the grave. Well, that unfortunate event happened in Taiwan to one unlucky man. A 46-year-old man named James Ho Chen was extremely mentally unstable and abusing amphetamines and alcohol. Under the drug influence, he managed to climb into the lion's den in the Taipei, Taiwan Zoo. The man took off his jacket and hurled it around as if he were ready for a bullfight, and the lions that were inside reacted by attacking him, grabbing the jacket and then mauling him. Surprisingly, it didn't prompt him to try to escape out of the enclosure, and instead he sat down on a log and waited to see what they would do next. That's when the lion attacked again, biting his arm and leg. The man continued to stay inside the cage and allow the lions to attack him. Officials were only able to get the man out by shooting the lion with a tranquilizer gun, and then taunting them away from him with a fire hose. When asked later why he had gone into the lion enclosure, he said that God had told him to do it. Obviously, kids, drugs are bad. Number 7. Tilikum, the literal killer whale. Whales are large but majestic creatures. However, they are terrifying up close, as their size is to be in awe of. Some whales can reach multiple tons in weight, which is no small feat, as most cars don't equal even 2 tons in weight. Tilikum, nicknamed Tilly, was a huge 12,000-pound orca whale who was captured in Iceland in 1983. Tilikum was kept in captivity in SeaWorld, where he was trained and forced to perform for thousands of people every single day. Finally, it seemed like Tilikum had had enough, and he would continuously act out at the members of the SeaWorld. Of course, you'd be angry too if you'd been cooped up all day in an enclosure and stared at by hundreds of people. Tilly became infamous for killing 3 people in his 30 years of imprisonment. First, he killed a marine biology student who had slipped accidentally into the tank in 1991. Second, he killed a visitor who sneaked in after the SeaWorld closed in 1999. And then he also killed one of his trainers after a show in 2010. Number 6. Who let the chimps out? Chimpanzees can look cute and cuddly, and you may even want one as a pet. However, some chimpanzees can be absolutely brutal to their own species, and after this incident, apparently other humans, even their caretakers. A chimpanzee escaped its captivity in Sendai, Japan, in the spring of 2016 and was able to climb around the electrical wires, which he probably thought was a lot of fun, but was actually extremely dangerous. That's because the chimp could have possibly been electrocuted, or he could have messed up the power for the entire city. The chimp continued to hang on to the power lines while people stared in amazement that it had gotten loose in the first place. The animal then attempted to take a swing at a person who was up in the power lines attempting to rescue it and get it down. The chimp would eventually be shot down with a tranquilizer, and it fell from the power lines, but it was caught by a team of people and luckily was not hurt. Number 5. Blinky the polar bear. Polar bears are very cute, but can be very dangerous at the same time. A 29-year-old woman from Australia had her thigh thoroughly engulfed in the mouth of a nearly 1,000-pound polar bear named Blinky at the Berlin Zoo. The woman foolishly trespassed to try to get a better shot of the animal. She ended up getting practically eaten by the large bear. Some onlookers tried to help her by hitting the bear, but then zoo officials arrived and took the matter into their own hands, when the bear was busy chomping down on her leg like a tasty chicken wing, while she remained helpless. You see, a polar bear's canine teeth are larger, sharper, and spaced much wider apart than any other bear's, and that's what allows them to grasp onto and tear off chunks of meat without any effort. Fortunately, though, the woman made it out alive. Number 4. A drunk man's mistake. This intoxicated man had the unfortunate experience of falling into a grizzly bear's captivity area in the zoo of Switzerland. The bear immediately began to dig into the victim, biting, ripping, and tearing at his limbs. Concerned onlookers screamed for help from zoo officials above. People also tried to throw food and objects at the bear to distract it, but it was clearly very interested in the human who had trespassed into his territory. The hungry grizzly continued to take large bites out of the man as he let out blood-curdling screams. It looked as if he was attempting to play dead so that the bear would leave him alone, but that didn't work out for him. The zoo guard shot the bear with tranquilizers and the man was rescued. Number 3. Rhinos on the loose. 3 female rhinoceroses managed to escape their enclosure at a safari zoo in Israel. The security guard apparently fell asleep and could be seen chasing the 3 rhinos as they ran out of the side gate that had been kept open for visitors. Although if he had caught up to them, there was not much he would be able to do to round up the giant animals on his own. The 3 rhinos were eventually caught and brought back into the enclosure before they could make it to the parking lot. Number 2. Please don't swim with the monkeys. A man in Brazil decided to get drunk and go to the zoo in Sao Paulo at the Saracoba Zoo. While inebriated, he took off his shirt and trespassed into the spider monkey's enclosure. He jumped into the water attempting to swim with the spider monkeys, but was attacked instead. One of the monkeys even took a bite out of his arm, but the man stayed there and even went closer. He got caught up by several monkeys who started biting and clawing at him. He was brought out of captivity, but he faced serious injuries to his arm and shoulders. Number 1. Polar bear bait. This enthusiastic zoogoer could not wait to get her eyes on the polar bears at the Berlin Zoo. She wound up getting much closer to the bears than she had ever planned. She hopped into the polar bear enclosure during feeding time, which isn't exactly the smartest thing to do. Later, reports would confirm that she was suffering from depression due to not being able to find a job. During the attempted rescue, the woman fell from the rope that was being pulled up. That's when she cascaded back into the water, where another bear attempted to take a bite out of her lower half. Fortunately, the second attempt at getting her out was successful. Which one of these moments shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments and be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time with even more exciting videos.